Kidderminster Harriers fans podcast. Hey, you are listening to Wes, and it's Sunday night, just gone 8 o'clock, and Kidderminster Harriers fans podcast is now live on YouTube, X, and Facebook as well. I'll have a check and make sure it's all correct. That means you can join us and comment on anything we say or make any points if you want to. I'm about to go on a rant. Okay, so here we go. So yesterday, after my 2.5-hour drive down, I was confronted by a couple of members of staff. They were lovely. I know them quite well, but issued a formal warning to me from the Harriers to not go anywhere near Adam Murray. And I can only guess this was because of what happened at Peterborough Sports. I merely reported on what happened, and it seems like I'm the easy target, right? So I've lost it now. I'm fed up with this data-driven team selection, which changes every week. I'm fed up of him and not really answering questions and shifting the blame to social media or lack of noise from the crowd. I'm fed up of him spending the budget on inferior players who couldn't cut it in the Conference North. Adigan had mental health issues, cancelled his contract, and one day later he signed for Chelmsford. That's a funny one, that. He wanted out. We made no money from him, which is ridiculous because I reckon he'd be worth a fair bit later on down the line. And that was absolutely crazy. I'm fed up of the leadership team not providing any leadership. Look at the team. Yes, there was no leadership on the pitch yesterday. No leaders on the pitch, like I said. No one was there, but apparently we have 6. Where was Jordan Tunnicliffe? Does anybody know where he is? He's probably just enjoying the money and just enjoying his tracksuit and whatever. But he's our most experienced player to a point. And why have you alienated the fans, Adam Murray, so much that we are getting the blame for not making enough noise? It makes no sense to me at all. How dare you question the loyalty of the fans who come and support this club every week? How dare you blame last season as the reason we aren't good enough? It makes us look a laughing stock. It really does. I dare you, Adam Murray, to come on here onto Kidderminster Harriers fans podcast, right, and not hide behind the media team. I double dare you to explain your actions to us. I really do. Explain why a member of your staff thinks it's okay to stick the middle finger up to the North stands when they are making their feelings known. I hope he'll be fired on tomorrow, but I doubt that very much. This whole blame everyone else but yourself culture has gone on for too long. You were brought in to win the league. That is a million miles away. Taken a really great side and replaced it with some cannon fodder, absolute cannon fodder. I'm sorry, Mr. Murray, but time to go. John, how are you feeling?
Well, I bet you're feeling a bit better after that.
Yeah, good.
Okay, I'll just very, very quickly, just to pick up on the Adigan thing. We were told that he wanted to move back home. It was the first time he'd been away from home. It didn't suit him. He signed for Chelmsford, which is very close to home. I don't particularly want to dwell on it. I think it's a real shame. I think that yes, there is a player there. It would have been nice to get a fee for him, but if anyone is struggling mentally because they're away from their family and that, then fair play to them for being honest and making a move. So all the best to him, and it's a shame it didn't work out. So yesterday, we all spoke after the game, and I said I was sad, depressed, deflated, desolate, basically over-exaggerating massively. And then about an hour later, when I heard the interview, that turned to anger, really, to be honest. I mean, even my son, a lot of people around the club will know Rory as being the most positive person in the world who sees the good in everything, and even he said that was awful. There was nothing good there. Okay, you were right in a lot of what you said there, Wes. The team selection yesterday, I thought, was baffling. Against the team in the form that Radcliffe were in, and we knew their strengths because Adam highlighted their strengths in an interview before the game. We knew their strengths. We needed leaders on the pitch. We needed leaders on the pitch from the get-go. We certainly needed leaders on the pitch after half-time. I don't understand why David Davis didn't start that game. I don't understand why Riley Reynolds, if he didn't start, didn't come on at half time. There's lots of things that are really, really bizarre. But before we dive into the game too deeply, that interview was sad to hear. I think it was 8 minutes, 4 of which, Adam talked about the failings of the players. He didn't throw anyone individually underneath the bus. I'm glad he didn't. I don't think there is anyone individually to be thrown under the bus, but I'm glad that he took it as a whole. And if he'd have ended the interview at that point, I would have gone, okay, well, he's at least identified all the areas we need to work on. But the next 4 minutes of basically what was a Ruben Amorim-esque rant about the toxicity around the club, essentially blaming the fans, in all but name. And you have the guts to say it's the fans. I'm sick of the fans. The fans aren't doing this. The fans aren't doing that. Because by saying it's not the players, it's not the staff, it's not other people around the club. Okay, well, if we are as toxic as he seems to think we are, then why on earth is he persistently highlighting that when he's saying that he's telling his players again and again, don't listen to what they're saying. Don't listen to the noise. Don't listen to the negatives. Let's take football out of the equation for a minute. As a manager, if you're saying to a member of staff, someone that you're looking after their day-to-day well-being at work, if you're saying, don't listen to these negatives, I'm going to highlight the positives, I'm going to work with you, the last thing you should then do is go out and talk for 4 minutes in an interview about all those negatives. Just let's try. If he wants us to stick together, he's got to lead that. And okay, that's enough about the interview. I'm going to stop on my rant in a little bit, but what I will say is, okay, the blame for the fans, noise, lack of noise, negative noise, whatever it is. But if it's a lack of atmosphere from the fans, does that lack of atmosphere dictate who marks who on corners? That's all I'll say.
I want to pick up on that because when we scored, the roof went off. The roof came off when we scored. Everyone was like, yes, finally, let's just do it. And then they conceded 2 minutes later. So you can't get us up there and then bring us down. You can't. It just isn't going to work. It isn't going to work at all. Nick, you've always got good points. Any thoughts on that, mate?
I've got a couple of things, if that's okay. The first one really is a bit of a confession, if I'm honest. I felt a little bit conflicted over the last week or so regarding this podcast and being involved in it on the basis that I guess the leader of the football club, if you will, in many ways, the manager's obviously alluded to it potentially having, not us specifically, but podcasts and social media having a potential negative impact on the team. I am first and foremost, and for 30 years have always been a Kidderminster Harriers football club fan, more than I have been a podcast fan or done anything like this historically. So it made me think about really my part in this on the basis of that. But then Jon raised a really good point in the various groups that we have around other clubs. Also having these at this level that we're not on our own in that world. And I actually reflected on it and asked a few people around kind of what they thought about how we are on the podcast. And most people's opinions, in fact, every opinion is that we're fair and we're balanced and, we're not overly critical of individuals. I know, Wes, you've had your Matt Hancock style State of the Nation get-go this evening, but so that was my overall thing, really, just feeling a little bit conflicted with the whole thing. But ultimately, I've come to the conclusion that, this is part of being a football manager. And ultimately, I'm assuming Adam Murray and his staff and his players want to, just like most of us do in our own working careers, want to progress them ourselves and get to more high profile opportunities. And if they're struggling here, then potentially, they're limiting themselves, shall we say, in terms of where they can go to. So that's my first point. My second point is on the game from yesterday. And I've been asking on this podcast since pretty much the start of the season to be entertained, Wes. We spoke yesterday and you reminded me that I wanted to be entertained. And you know what? Yesterday I was actually really entertained. I thought Radcliffe was superb. Attacking, superb, looked like they were going to score every time they went forward, aggressive. They pressed up until we got the red card, they pressed us constantly. They were aggressive, but not in a physical way. I heard a couple of fans saying, we've got too many Southern players in the team. They can't deal with the likes of this team. Radcliffe were not an overly aggressive team. They were technical, they were powerful, but they were not overly aggressive or overly physical, in my opinion. They certainly weren't a horrible side. They were well drilled. They had several good technical players. Their number 10, I thought, in particular, was a fantastic player. They did what you have to do to be a good side at this level, which is defend well, be solid, and put good quality crosses into the box. I've said it on this podcast multiple times. I'm sick of turning up to Agborough and seeing us like the away side for the majority of the game. And again, yesterday, too much of that game was played in our own half. I said this at previous games that I've been to. That's how it feels to me, that we are always the team. Stats aside, possession aside, what I see with my eyes are more than I can ever remember the ball being in our half more than anywhere else. So that's the one thing that I would say again about yesterday. I'm not going to call out any players because I feel as though, having looked at them again yesterday, they look like a group of guys that aren't enjoying their job. And again, going back to normal life and normal jobs, those people, men and women that don't enjoy their jobs, don't tend to be the top performers. So it's no real surprise that we are struggling at the moment. And yeah, that's my thoughts. Fair play to Radcliffe. I thought they played us off the field for a large part of that game. And to come out in the interview and say outside of the corners, we had a great grip on the game, I don't see that personally. That's my own personal opinion. I felt they very much were in control of the game for large parts of it.
So yeah, I'm just going to go to the comments. We've had a few comments coming already. Louise, good evening, Louise. He should blame the team. Well, okay, Louise, thank you. That's what we're trying not to get away to there. If I put this on, this is quite funny, but this is going to cover Nick's face right up, I think. Oh, no, not so bad. Chris Garside says, stay away from Murray. Is he some kind of goon? I'm happy at John. That's absurd. I know. The worst thing about it was, it's like when you go to the smaller grounds like Peterborough Sports, you can't help but get in the way of people. And he was one of the people I was getting to. Good evening to Gary Martin. Hello, Gary. It's great to have you on board. And this absolute legend who I met yesterday, Andy, our graphics guy. He says, fans cheered subs on, especially Riley. I think Riley got the biggest cheer, right? Was that me? Well, I honestly, it felt like that. It was like the crowd are just going, he gets it now, but he gets it like 76 minutes too late. What is he doing? I don't get it. Anyway, graphics guy Andy came up with this absolute beauty. Oh, hang on. Oh, it was there. Hang on. There we go. Look at that, eh? Harry of the Harriers. Oh, my goodness me. There's a Obi with whatever that was. I'm not sure. Some sort of kung fu. Oh, my goodness me. Watching it, honestly, it needs to have some sort of kung fu fighting music on the background for that one.
Why has Dibble got a moustache? He's not had a moustache since November.
Well, maybe he's getting used to it. He's growing it more November, maybe that kind of thing. I don't know. But yeah, that was cool. That was really good. Thank you so much for that, Andy, and thanks for everything you do, pal. Right, let's actually stay this big. It's fine. So yeah, Dan, you weren't watching it in the ground with us yesterday, were you, Dan? No, you watched it from home, which is fine, absolutely fine, because you saw the game. And you may well have picked up on things that we didn't see. Dan, what were your thoughts, my friend?
So I sort of want to, before I go right into that, I want to talk about the interview as well on Thursday from Adam Murray, because I felt like I think I messaged those guys and I said that's the best interview he's given since the time he's been manager of Kidderminster Harriers. I felt like it was candid. He opened up. He talked about injuries. He talked about his feelings towards kind of mistakes he'd made. And I thought, okay, something's changing here. I've been feeling a lot like Nick, like I'm almost not part of the club anymore. I almost feel like I'm on the periphery. I'm disconnected from what's going on. So actually hearing what was going on in the background made me feel like, okay, I'm coming back into this, and we were going to go out there. We're going to have a renewed look at how we approach this, and it was the same old. And so sitting at home watching it, and I'm going to say something I'm going to get a lot of stick for, but Wes, you travelled a long way to get to that game, and I was so thankful I didn't go, because what I saw, I guess I saw the view slightly differently to you guys, but I saw a team that didn't know each other, a team that didn't know how to play together, a team that had zero confidence in their own abilities, had zero confidence in their teammates' abilities. I saw a team that had no energy, no creativity, just flat, absolute flat. With regards to the OB red card, I spent most of yesterday defending that and saying, I get it, the ball kind of looked like the ball didn't really sit up. Now I've reviewed it, I'm like, why didn't he put his head on it? Like, go and challenge for it, and in the moment, it's easy to say that, like retrospectively to say that and say, well, he should have done this, he should have done that. And in the moment, perhaps the decision was different. But I think we're all in acceptance that it was a red card. That's the end of it. We lose him for a couple of games. Or a game. That's just the way it goes. But the biggest alarm for me, and I think the thing that really disappointed me after the interview on Thursday, is just the toxicity that is surrounding the management team, and with what happened at Peterborough Sports, and also with this alleged incident yesterday of I feel like you're taking a photo of me there, Nick. So with this
Sorry,
alleged,
I was taking a picture of the QR code.
Is that what it was? So with the alleged incident with the trainer sticking his finger up at the north stand, these sorts of things, like, who does that? Like, where is the maturity in the management team to even kind of be thinking that that is the right thing to do? At the end of the day, the fans are the heartbeat of the club, whether you like it or not. That's how it works. The fans come in, they pay good money. People like Wes travel hours to get to that ground, and that is how you're treating people. To me, it's disgusting. And all you're doing is, I really hoped we were going to see Adam Murray trying to bring the fans back in, and you're just alienating everybody more and more and more. And I just think that level of toxicity is leaving such a sour taste in my mouth, to the point where I've been desperately trying to find the positives, and I think I've swung 180. I'm a bit, I think it's time to see him go. How does he turn it round from this? I'm not convinced he does, but sitting there watching it on the TV, I had my other half sat next to me. Cara, my wife, sat next to me, and she was reading. I think it was, she was doing something, and she sort of looked up, watched the game for a couple of minutes, and then turned to me and said, "Why can't they pass it to each other?" She just nailed it. Absolutely. Why can't they pass it to each other? I'm in absolute despair. And if this doesn't turn around, the beginning of the season, we were talking about how we're going to win the title. We're on the edge here. And to me, it feels like if this doesn't turn around quickly, we're going to be talking about how we stay up. And for a club like us, that is unthinkable. It's unthinkable.
Unbelievable. Nick, everyone knows that I don't want to talk about Phil Brown anymore, but you came up with the greatest point, I think, was yesterday when you talked about Phil Brown and what he did to get involved with Kidderminster and the people of Kidderminster. Can you explain that again, Nick? Was it you? Sure, it was you.
It was. Yeah, I mean, it was just a bit of a passing comment, really. It's just language that is used in interviews and in moments where you get the opportunity to speak to the media. And I thought Phil did a particularly good job at times. He'd say what he wanted about the players, he'd say what he wanted about the playing staff, but actually the fans in the main, he was quite positive. He talked about the town, he talked about the football club as if he was almost like a supporter now of us, as well as the manager. You could tell that he took the role really seriously, and you could see that it meant a lot. He gave the persona that it meant a lot to him to be the Kidderminster Harriers manager. He made sure players would go to schools to give talks. He would go with them. Now, I know a part of that is that Phil liked that part of the job, and I feel like Adam doesn't particularly. Maybe that's one of his areas that he needs to work on. But yeah, I thought Phil was very much about and understood. He was on the pulse of what fans kind of care about, I think. And I think that comes with experience. I think that comes with being, from a part of the world up north where football is everything to people that are football fans up there. And he, to me, embodied that as a football manager. And yeah, am I saying Phil Brown was perfect? No. But I personally felt there were certain interviews that I watched and it was like, yeah, this guy just gets it. He just gets it. And I think at the minute, I feel like Murray hates being here or dislikes being here. I think he feels that there's something that most of us would have said in May or, even after the Southport game. I don't think there's many Harriers fans that would be looking at the club and going, it's broken. It needs a full fix. It's its lowest ebb. Yes, it was a dark day, but I don't think any fan that we have felt that we required the kind of turnaround and the kind of rebuild and the kind of cultural reset that Adam keeps referencing in the interviews around. So much needs to change. We're rebuilding. We're going on a journey. It's like, okay, we came third last season. We had some strong players. We had some strong attendances. We had some great atmospheres. We fell short by one game. Where are all these major issues that you're talking about? And if they exist, and this project, for want of a better phrase, exists, can we get a little bit more insight in what's broken and what the project is? Because when he joined, he talked about, if I'm bored on the sidelines, then I'm not going to be happy. And I sort of maybe mistakenly thought that we were going to have some kind of football reset in terms of what like a philosophy. And I was thinking earlier, you look at someone like a Wrexham, for example. Now, I'm not comparing us to them. They're on a completely different planet and budget-wise and all that. But their philosophy when they were in the National League was to acquire captains of other teams. That was their philosophy. Buy leaders, put them together in a team and hope that team delivers and drives it forward. It did. Steve Burr's philosophy was to acquire young, talented, top talent from the local area, either at that level or the level we're at or below. That was his philosophy. You look at Notts County, their philosophy when they were in the National League was to buy the best players from the National League North. Macaulay Langstaff scored 45 goals that season, or 40 plus goals for them that season. What is our philosophy? What are we? Because I don't see us as a possession-based team. I don't see us as a set-piece team. I don't see us as a counter-attack team. I couldn't. If you said to me, what is our footballing philosophy on the field and in recruitment, I don't think anyone could say with any gusto, oh, well, we're a possession-based side. We're a this, we're a that. What are we? What is our philosophy? What are we trying to achieve? What is this vision? How are we broken? And what does not being broken look like? Because at the minute, I don't feel like anyone can articulate that to me.
I think you've summed it up very nicely, Nick. What is our style? What is our system? I was just flabbergasted yesterday, and walking back in after enjoying a pint of Guinness in the Arms at half time, which didn't, probably would have needed another half a dozen to help that. Walking back in at half time, I think it was just about to kick off, and I turned to Pete Lewis in the ground. I said, oh, "What changes has he made? He hasn't made any changes." What? Sorry? Like what? I mean, what is? It seems to me that the philosophy is just keep going and hope that things go right. And there was an interview that he gave. It might have been on Thursday, and there was a question raised about the micromanagement. And I think the questions that were raised yesterday and Thursday have been really good. I think the interview questions that are put to him are bringing out the kind of the challenging questions that we want put to him. And he said he doesn't want to be micromanaging. He doesn't want to be talking players through the game, but he's having to. Now, for me, I'm not professing to have expert football knowledge or be some kind of Jose Mourinho, but if you've conceded 3 goals off corners because of your zonal marking, maybe your micromanagement should be, let's do some different marking on corners, guys. Let's mark them up. Let's go man to man. Let's change things. And there's that issue. There's the issue of the leaders. I don't want to single out any players at all. I actually think everyone gave an account of themselves, gave real effort yesterday. I think Reece Hall is a young player coming into a side that is unsettled. I think it would have been much better to have a David Davis in there. And I think having a leader on the pitch would have been fantastic. I think that, and okay, if that wasn't what Murray thought in the starting lineup, then have a look at that first half and make that change and go, okay, we need someone out there with experience to talk players through the game, to lead players forward. And going back to Dan's wife's point about why can't they pass to each other, Dan is no one who wants the ball, it seems like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this fear thing, this whole thing that keeps coming up. Oh, they're afraid to make a mistake. I really saw that yesterday.
Sorry, John, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say that there were a couple of occasions when we had the ball in our back line, especially in the second half, when Radcliffe sat off us quite a lot in the second half.
Yeah.
We had the ball in our back line, and a pass would go sort of out, say, to the right wing. The right winger would put his head up. There'd be a man to pass to in front of him, but there would be a Radcliffe player in the vicinity of that player. And that it was almost like, well, no, that's not an option then. So I'm turning around. And I think what I just want to underline the point that Kara's making there, because this isn't a criticism of the players, in my opinion. This is something fundamentally is wrong with the club, because we know those lads can play. We saw there were players on that pitch yesterday that were in contention for player of the season last year. Why are they not doing that this year? What is gone wrong that those players, Dibble is a good example of that, where his confidence just looks so low, and yet we still worship the ground he walks on. So I don't see how that's the fans saying that, that's dragging Dibble down. Something else is fundamentally wrong. Sorry, John, continue with your point.
That's what I'm not going to ramble on too much. It was just that point about, the why aren't they passing to each other? There was a moment that Cam had the ball where he was obviously playing centre half, had the ball, and he's looking for a pass, he's looking for an outlet. No one's showing for him, no one wants him, and Spokes is gesturing, run with it, bring it, and essentially no one was willing to put themselves on the line. Now, again, just going back to what we were saying earlier, Radcliffe pressed incredibly well. They did a job on us. But they exploited our weaknesses, and we knew their strengths, and we did nothing to nullify them. And I'd be really interested to hear if other fans are seeing and feeling this toxicity, this negativity from the fans that Adam Murray is, because I've been to quite a few games this season, the majority of games, and I would say that we've got behind Murray, we've got behind the players, we've got behind the team, game after game after game after game. And I would argue that the negativity and the toxicity and the fear, as I said earlier, is being fueled by him keep talking about it. And, if you're trying to get someone to not worry about something, if your child's having nightmares about a monster under the bed, don't go through an encyclopedia of monsters. It just seems so basic to me that if you come out and say, I've told them not to worry about it and not to listen to it, but then talk about it for 4 minutes, all the negativity, and it's all, it's caused by everyone around the club, and the club's going to implode. I mean, saying the club's going to implode.
Can I make a quick point?
Sorry,
John.
Nick. Yeah, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. You go.
No, it's okay. It just relates to what Dan was saying, and if I don't mention it now, I will forget. My memory is horrendous. But we're talking about Dibble there. I'm going to throw Obi into the mix as well, and potentially Folkes and Reese as well. But we'll go with the central players for now. So we'll go with Dibble and we'll go with Obi. It cannot, and again, this has been discussed previously on here. It cannot help a goalkeeper, whether you are at 10 out of 10 of confidence or 0 out of 10 for confidence, whether you're loving playing for the club or you're hating playing for the club. If you are a central defender or a goalkeeper and you are consistently playing with different personnel, different players on a weekly basis, that will eat into your confidence, whether you're Christian Dibble or you're Emi Martinez. It doesn't matter. You need to build partnerships. You need to build continuity, trust, understanding what certain players do in certain moments. At the minute, Obi is being thrown out there week in, week out with different personnel around him. And he is having to stand up to Jon's point, what seems to be an improved level in the National League North without any continuity of partnerships alongside him. I understand that with more creative players and more forward-thinking players, you can maybe make changes that have less of an impact on the overall game. But the defence and the goalkeeper should be identified as quickly as possible what that strongest set and foundation is. Because if you do not have a good set of foundations defensively and with your goalkeeper, you have no chance of doing anything. You will not be a successful football team without that foundation. The second point I want to make around the game yesterday is we had what appeared to be no midfield at times. And I feel sorry for the defenders and the goalkeeper at times. And I am no tactical expert, but it felt like as soon as they passed the halfway line, it was attack v defence yesterday. And ultimately, you roll the dice if that's happening, okay? And their players on the day performed. Our players probably didn't perform to the level they would like to. So man for man, they got beaten enough times to concede 5 goals at home, our worst defeat for 15 or 16 years. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I have a little bit of sympathy with quite a lot of the players at the moment, but certainly those defensive players, the central players and the goalkeeper, because it must be borderline impossible, to be honest, to even consider, to quote Phil Brown, a clean sheet mentality, because it feels like at the moment, we're going to need to score 2 goals a game to get a point at the moment or win a game for sure. And we just don't do that. So we've got to fix that defensive element of our team as quickly as possible, because if we don't, we are going to slide down the table, because I've seen nothing in 11 games to suggest that we're going to be a free-flowing, free-scoring, goal machine this season, because it just doesn't feel like that's the case. And we don't feel close to that either. So, yeah, that was just my point on the goal. I've got a bit of empathy, really, to be honest, with the with that. And finally, on Dibble and that moment where he obviously flapped at the second one. Divine misses, I watched it earlier, Divine misses the header. He stood probably half a metre in front of Dibble. He leaps up. I don't know if it touches his head, it might not, but he's in his eye line. He jumps up and then Dibble's got to react. And unfortunately, it hasn't gone his way this time on that one. But yeah, that's my point on the defence and the goalkeeper.
Thank you, Nick. Right, let's go to the comments. Before we do the comments, what I love about KHFP is you never know what you're going to get on a Sunday evening. I certainly didn't think I'd be getting parent advice from Jon tonight about monsters. So there we go. Thank you, Jon, for the parent advice. Right, so Chris Garside, we're among some of the most supported of fan bases, and we're true we are. We do not get on the players' backs. We give our teams and managers backing, and we understand of any problems our club possesses. Now, Jonathan Smith, is this you? Jon, is this you?
It's me. I'm getting involved. In front of the camera and behind, mate. I'm all over the place.
There are other Jon Smiths, though.
Yeah,
there is more than one Jon Smith. I was shocked to find that out.
I know. Agreed, Nick. It was good performance from a team in form, but we knew their strengths and we did not want nothing to nullify them. I've got something really funny to put up in a second. Gary Martin, Radcliffe's number 10 was superb, caused problems, confident with the ball and great movement. I might say I was being
Collins' comment. Sorry, Wes, can we pick up on Collins' comment? Because Collins just commented saying Colin Downey, toxicity is evident. He sees it in the main stand. Lots of aggressive shouting by a number of supporters to AM, even early on. Now, I think we all sit in different places.
We
or stand. And I haven't seen that in the North stand. I don't think there was any aggressiveness or getting on his back until quite far into the game, when it was obvious that what he'd instructed the players to do wasn't working, and the personnel on the pitch weren't able to. That's really harsh. But the personnel on the pitch, not that they weren't able to, but the personnel on the pitch weren't being effective against that opposition. And when he brought Riley Reynolds on, everyone cheered, not just for Riley, but for Adam as well.
I do get it though. I sort of do get Colin's point, and I do understand a little bit about this whole the fan base, and the toxicity of it, whatever phrase you want to use. Now, there's two things at play here. There is what is toxic in football, which is a lot of this, right? So you can't take Murray being shouted at by the fan base in the main stand, and let's face it, when Riley Reynolds came on, it's a passive aggressive cheer. That's where that is coming from. That huge cheer for Riley. It's a passive aggressive. Look, Mr. Manager, we would have had him on at half time. That's what the loud cheer is for, from a player that, let's face it, should be playing in this team. It's not a team above Riley Reynolds' level, right? So I do get it, and I was happy to see him come on as well. So there's that. There is the constant chants and shouts all the time, no matter who is the manager, about get it forward. It is unbelievable, and it's at all times in the game, and it doesn't matter who's playing. And it was the same last season and the season before, and all the way back to John Eustace, and probably before then.
Way before.
So I get that as a toxic element of the fan base, where we get frustrated, we shout stuff out. Murray's obviously been getting abused, the players get abused. However, that isn't standalone to the Harriers. It's not exclusive to us. We're not the only club where that happens. I made a point early on in the season, which is Adam is used to managing decent sized clubs, maybe, but with no real fan base, no core fan base. Far would have no fan base of any real kind of expectation or ilk. Like I said, all the pressure for File comes internally. Eastbourne had no.
My fault. That was my fault.
That's all right, mate. Eastbourne have no pressure, probably internally or externally. And off the back of the season they had, they were just on a bit of a wild journey last season. And fair play to Murray for creating that. I've watched some of the clips, and they looked a fantastic team. So I guess the balance is here, which is, yes, you're going to get that at a football club. If you're the manager or a footballer in 2025 of any era, really, you're going to get abuse at sometimes. It's just par for the course. It's going to happen. It's not exclusive to Harriers. So you can call it out for what it is, or we've got to find a way of dealing with that and understanding that even if we were top of the league right now, you're still occasionally going to get fans shouting out, not happy, frustrated. And unless you are a manager or a footballer playing for a team with very little expectations, of which you probably don't want to be at that football club if you aspire to be a successful sports person, you're going to get it. So we've got to just learn to deal with it and create a product where that noise is reduced instead of amplified. And at the minute, what's happening is the product on the pitch is amplifying the noise. That's not the fact that the club's toxic or broken. That's a football club. That's what happens. And we've only got 2,700 fans doing it. Imagine being the Wrexham manager. Imagine being a League Two manager. I don't get it on that basis.
Bricks with Ella. Thanks for your comment. Appreciate that. It's got to be a worry that he keeps referencing social media and podcasts in his interviews. Comes across as quite a fragile mindset. I don't buy the hangover excuse, given how much change there has been. I totally get that. I totally get it. I get what you're saying. Thank you so much for that. Right. Okay. So one of the questions put to Adam Murray yesterday after the match, is the guy called Chris Williams from BBC over in Worcester? Yeah. He said, why are they making mistakes? And Adam just replied with, they're footballers. and that was the only thing he could say. And I thought, mate, come on now, you're better than that. It's ridiculous. No answer is that.
I'm going to disagree with you there, Wes.
Go on then, son.
I thought that was one of the better
Let's
answers, if anything. People make mistakes, and human beings make mistakes. Footballers make mistakes, but the consistency of those mistakes yesterday was because of the doggedness with the way in which we were committed to playing. And again, I'm sorry to go back to it, but the first thing that he said in his interview was 4 goals off corners. Well, you've got them set up with this zonal marking approach for every corner. I mean, even if it was, okay, they've conceded 3 off corners, and it's, they've conceded twice, and they've set up exactly the same the third time. And you'd sigh then, but 4 is ridiculous. Fool me once, shame on you. Score past me 4 times off a corner. What the hell's going on? It's just the doggedness with which he was approached it yesterday, and really the stubbornness, I think. And I just I saw at one point, and this is not any criticism to his effort, because I thought he ran his heart out yesterday. But Show Silver at one point, I actually shouted at him, not abuse, but he came into the back line when they were setting up for, or just after conceding the corner, and he just shrugged his shoulders in a conversation. In a conversation with the rest of the back line, the people in the back line, just shrugged his shoulders. And I shouted, "Well, you're the skipper. Get them going. Encourage them." And
did he do anything?
Maybe he didn't know who was marking though. Maybe it could have been an actual. Who am I supposed to be marking?
Well, they weren't marking anyone, were they? They weren't set up, man.
True zonal. Yeah. But maybe we weren't supposed to be in the zonal marking structure then.
So I think that there's a big question to answer about the philosophy and or just the style of play, what we want to play. The next big question I'll answer, we're talking about kids' books, with Where's Wally, Where's Tunny? He's a hell of a player. He's a hell of a footballer, and he's a good leader, and he's had some good performances this season. And I've spoken to some people who've said that they think he's lost a yard of pace too much, and maybe he's not quite up to it. I completely disagree personally. I think he's exactly the kind of leader that should be on the pitch. And then my last point on leaders is that was our 5th captain yesterday, and it's mid-October.
We don't have a captain, remember? We've got a leadership group.
No, we've got a group, man. If you remember the beginning where I said about that, we've got the leadership group. Amazing.
It's good to have a leadership group.
It's not, John. It's not at all, John.
Have a group of leaders, put them on the pitch. Don't have them sat on the bench. And if everything is going to, pardon my French, to shit, then you need your leaders to get on there and pull you out of the shit. And I was just flabbergasted by no changes at half time yesterday. And
it's so quiet on the pitch, mate. It's so quiet on the pitch. Like I'm at ground, I'm in the east stand, and relatively not right on the pitch, but like I can see what's going on in terms of the sound bites, and it is so quiet. Like it's so quiet on there.
They've forgotten how to talk. They need someone to get them talking, and I think Davis does that very well. I think AMS has done that well. I can't see a situation where David Davis doesn't start at Chester. I think if he's not in that starting lineup at Chester, then wow. Because come on, we need a strong, experienced leader on that pitch who is going to take those players by the scruff of the neck. The young players, the players that have come, from out of the area, and really lead us through. Because you have that yesterday. You have someone who just put their foot on the ball, get a bit closer, show a bit of confidence, and deal with the pressure and the pace with which Radcliffe were pressing us, and lead by example. Then I really think that would make a massive difference. But yeah, anyway,
a group of leaders yesterday mean that game finishes 3-1, not 5-1. So naive, people have banded that word around quite a lot over the last sort of 12, 18 months, naivety. Well, yesterday was pure naivety in terms of, even forget the manager, on this one, but although he obviously falls under the category, but we should be bringing the likes of, it is the manager. We should be bringing the likes of Davis, etc., on to see that game out with 10 men to make sure that we don't get absolutely spanked at home. You mentioned yesterday, John, that we got pinged 4 or 5-1 by Swansea a few years ago. There's a stark difference between being smashed by a much bigger football club with much bigger resources, with a much better squad of players, than there is getting done 5-1 from Radcliffe, who, with respect, that's probably one of the best results in their club's history yesterday, beating us 5-1 away from home.
Oh, this is what they put on. I think it was. Is that X? I think so. So that's the
That's one of the management team, isn't it? That's one of the co-managers.
Yes, it is.
Johnson and yeah.
It's ridiculous. Just all of it is it's mind-boggling. By the way, I've got something that I've got to put up in a second. But comments come in. This one's for Andrew Hunt. Murray is a coach and not a manager. He seems unable to bridge gap between his position and his players and fans, staff and customers. Alex Withers. Hello, Withers, mate. Aren't these young managers trying to reinvent the wheel too much, especially at this level? Obsessed with stats and XG rather than experience and results. I get that. That's what I was talking about at the beginning. Just
Totally.
throw your iPad in the bin, mate. Honestly, it's doing nothing for you at all. It's pathetic.
Recycle it, ESG.
Yeah. I'd love to know what is he seeing in these stats that's what is he looking? He's looking at the performance of the opposition. He's looking, then he's basing that on what? I don't see what he can see. I think, you know what, we're in a really, really precarious position right now. Like, back to basics. Pick your strongest team, let them work together, let them play together, let them get used to each other. Like, Nick, your point earlier from, Dibble and Obi sort of having several different players in that back line with them, it's completely right. I'm not again a professor of football. I don't know the game as well as somebody like Adam Murray does, but ultimately, to me, like, you go into a game with a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. Your plan A should be the thing your team is most comfortable with, and our team are not comfortable. They don't look comfortable in any way. So, I mean, what do we do? Where do we go? No wonder the fans are silent. What we got to cheer? Like, them walking around the pitch clapping? Like, come on.
Oh, and stick the finger up, Dan, as well.
Yeah.
I just want to make the point here that if you saw the highlights, Show Silva missed what I would have said was a good chance with a header in 4 minutes in. And then we've missed other chances where we could have leveled it at 3. Joe Folks, again, he's on the run, he's got forward, he's found the space, and then it's just gone wide again for Joe. I feel sorry for Joe. He'll get a goal eventually, but I just don't know if it'll be this season. And then Willoughby, if the other one had gone in, Willoughby could have made it 3-3. But it's all shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's John's favourite saying about your auntie and your uncle and about having testes and stuff and that. Jonathan Smith, not this one, not my one that I brought in today. Willoughby was in the right position time and time again yesterday, really showed for it, but let down. I thought hopefully Mooney continues to get into the swing of things. So, I thought Mooney was okay yesterday. And I think there's bigger things to come from Mooney. Thoughts, please, John Smith.
I agree. I thought. I think he's getting back into it. He's been out for a long period of time. I think he's maybe slightly worried to chase down things that he would have chased down before. Maybe that's a bit of an injury fear, but he seemed to actually grow in confidence as the game went on, which was the opposite of what happened to most of the players. I think, yeah, I really, I like Willoughby. I think that he's a fantastic reader of the game. I think, the way that he finds the space and positions to be where his teammates want him to be is great. I thought he wanted to be through the middle yesterday. I thought, and I might be wrong. Kurt, if you want to come on, you're welcome to, or comment on what we're saying. But it looked like he wanted to go through the middle, and obviously that wasn't what we played. That one that he just scooped over. If that drops in, it's a slightly different situation. But going back to Dan's point about it might have been Nick, where second half there was a period of 15-20 minutes where Radcliffe actually sat off us. I think if we score again, that doesn't happen, and they continue with their high energy pressing game and their quick, effective passing, and they probably score more. It was great to see Mooney back. I think Mooney and Willoughby for me should be your two probably nailed on starters in the front line.
Would he play in the 10, John? Would he play in the 10 position, Mooney? Do you think
he can? He can certainly play in the 10, but I think he prefers to come in from out wide, doesn't he? So we'll see. We'll see. I am going to make a controversial point or a controversial statement.
Oh, hang on. Have I got some sort of? Give me 1 second, John. Let me check out what we've got in the older media file. Hang on, because it could be this might happen.
I don't know if it's that exciting.
I just feel like I'm back at work now. So.
That was mine. Yeah, I'll be coming to see you soon. Okay. I would like Adam Murray to be given the chance to turn this around. I don't want us to go into a new management team and a complete rebuild right now. I think the time that he's got to do that, I would say he's put himself in a position where he's probably got 2 games. I think Chester and Merthyr are 2 tough games. If he can turn it round and get us 6 points against those two, or even 4 against Chester and Merthyr.
Gotta be 6.
Let's have 6 then. I think it's going to be a completely different perspective that he'll see from the fans, and a completely different perspective that we'll have on him. Yes, he said, the team said, we just need a win. We just need a win. Adam, it's not the fans that can drive them to that win. Yes, we can support. Yes, we can cheer. We'll be there. We'll be cheering. But, it's your responsibility to get the best out of those players and to stop going on about this fear thing now. Let's drop it. Let's talk about the positives and what you're going to do and what you're going to change and learn from the mistakes. But let's give Adam Murray these 2 games, which are difficult games. Let's give him all of our support and encouragement. To give the whole team our support and encouragement, and be honest that if we're in this position on the 22nd of October, where we're looking back and going, okay, well, we haven't got anything out of those 2 games, and the performances haven't changed, and there's still. I
still don't think he'll get the sack, even if we lost the next 2 games.
No way, not a chance.
I don't think that. I don't think we're in a position. Look, I think Adam has gone in there. He's identified some issues that he feels are issues at the club, whether that be the average age, whether that be players being stagnant, whether that be the fan base, whether that be the connection between the players and the fans. He's referenced in many ways things that football fans, and this is where he's been brave, and it'll either be a bold move and work for him, or he'll look back at it probably and think, probably didn't get the tone right there. But he's effectively slated the club in a way, in terms of it's not really a football league club. We've had a few years at that level, and traditionally, we're seen as a non-league club. He's been quite open and vocal with his views around almost saying we need to lower our expectations without maybe necessarily saying those words. Just a quick point on Alex's message, just going back to it whilst it's still on the screen. Mike Williamson won promotion with Notts County. He's like 42, so won't be any older or younger than Murray. The guy at South Shields, Ian Watson, who was also in that team of that, the management team of that Gateshead side, he's also quite a young guy as well. I think he's like late 30s. So I think I get the point about Murray being more of a coach than a manager. Maybe he is. He does strike me as someone who loves the coaching element of the game more than any other part of the job. think if you said to Adam Murray, look, great news, all you've got to do is coach, you don't have to do anything else, no media work, no engagement with the fans, no quiz nights, no curry with Murray, I think he'd probably be happy with that. Whereas some of the managers want that personality type management. And I do think at the minute he's sort of walking a tightrope with what he says about the club and the fan base, because once those lines are severed, it's very difficult to then recover them with some of the things that you may have said that hurts people that have been fans of this football club for a lot longer than I have been, and certainly a lot longer than Adam Murray's been connected to the club. So that's my point on that one. And then to Phil's point that he's just put a message in the chat there, I think it's a 2-year deal. So it just, unless Adam was willing to just walk away, I can't see a world in which, even if we lost the next 2 games 3-0 each time, I'm still not sure that Richard and co will pull the trigger, on the basis that if you look at history with this sort of directorship, they give people a lot of time. They gave us a lot of time. I think the only real difference though is, even with Russ had built up not only as a player but as a manager, he'd built up a lot of goodwill with the supporters, with the players, with everything really, because he took us on that cup journey. He bought players in that we sold for money that were just quality players that the fans loved to see. That first proper season after COVID, we were entertaining. We had the cup games, amazing memories. Then we got promoted after a real tough season. Phil had some good games in the National League. We actually went and beat the likes of Oldham and Chesterfield away, some fantastic memories. And then ultimately, his personality cost him his job, and probably his lack of adapting to the modern game and data probably cost him his driving license, potentially cost him his job for him. But he had put in place a lot of goodwill, I thought, Phil. Whereas if you're Adam Murray, you're in that sort of worrying position where you don't have much credit in the bank. You've got rid of a lot of the older players, the Harriers players of old. You've replaced them with new players. You haven't really got an identity of style. You're not really endearing yourself to the wider fan base based on the feedback that the fans are giving at the moment. So actually, where is that goodwill that he's got? He doesn't have it. That's the only thing in the back of my mind that thinks maybe the club would make a hastier decision. But look, we're the 12th of October. We're only 11 games in. It does feel, and it's so harsh to talk about another human being's kind of job, but I guess that is football. But I don't see a world in which, unless we are low mid-table after 16, 17, 18 games, Christmas time. I think he's got till Christmas personally. I really do.
That's a big shout till Christmas.
Can I ask a question of everyone, and I'm including this in the people watching as well. So, okay, Murray's not leaving. Let's say that. What do we want to see? And I don't want people to say I want to see results, etc. What do we want to see? Do we want to see a fixed team? Do we want to see him engaging with the fans in a more positive way? Do we want to see him picking the strongest squad each week? Do we want to see I don't know, what does Murray need to do to turn the way, certainly the way I'm feeling, and Adam, if you're watching this, I know you do, but if you are watching this, I'm on the other side of the fence right now. I feel like the toxicity from the staff next to you is what's pushing everybody away. And I think if people are members of the management team are offering fans out or sticking their fingers up at the fans, we need something else. What has Murray got to do to turn everybody's head round? And I don't just mean we need to win games. What do we want to see on Saturday against Chester?
So I will take that one. I just think he's got to be more human. Do you know what I mean? He's got to be more human and just, I don't know, he's just got to get involved, I think, a little bit more with, maybe he is, but we're not seeing it. Phil, talking about Phil again, but Phil went and did things for show so people could see he was at Morrison's car park with Alex Penny and whatever, or in the store, and they were doing that. But he was out there.
That's important stuff. Where's that's important stuff though? That's the part of being a manager.
I know.
In any, certainly at this level, but really in many ways at any level, I think in terms of what he can do, John, Dan, just quickly to your point on what he can do, I think be proud of the club, wear the club gear. Like, he doesn't wear Harriers stuff, doesn't put the logo on. It's like, do you actually like the place? Because at the minute, it's like, I go back to the assistant or the technical director guy, whatever his job title is, the guy that apparently has been swearing at the home fan. Don't know if that happens, didn't see it, who knows. If it did happen, how he deals with that is one small step of how he could potentially re-engage or get the fan base having a little bit more credit. Because if that has happened, and let's face it, it wouldn't be hard to identify whether that's happened. There's cameras all over the ground. The game was filmed on DAZN. So, investigate that, see what happens. Because, and I've talked a lot about normal jobs tonight, which is boring, I know. But if you take that to a normal job, if you're swearing at a customer, you don't tend to get away with that. You know what I mean? So I think how he handles that, if it's happened, is one area. I think demonstrate that you're proud to be associated with the club. I.e. wear some of the gear. And the end, ultimately, it's the product, isn't it? If you can fix the product, a lot of these other things kind of get papered over, or you sort of the damage is minimised. But yeah, to Gary's point, we've got to see product on the pitch that is improving, and we've got to see, in a way, the team is representing how I feel the manager feels about us.
Yeah,
in a way where it's
that's
like,
a really good point.
Totally
really good point. And to just answer Dan's question as well, I think there's four things. I might sound a bit David Brent here, but for me, it's accountability, leadership.
But John, that sounds like management. That just sounds like management speak to me. I know how much you hate that. I know how much you hate that.
Accountability, leadership, direction, and respect. The accountability, if he's giving an 8-minute interview and he's blaming everyone but himself, there are things that he could have done better yesterday, and he needs to acknowledge those and tell us about what he's going to do. Leadership, yes, he's leading the team, but get those leaders on the pitch. Take what he's saying and get that delivered on the pitch. Direction, how are we playing? What is our style? Are we a counter-attacking team? Are we actually going to take the game to the opposition? Are we going to play with the press? What are we going to do? If that changes every opposition or for the circumstance to a certain extent, great. But at the minute, it feels like it's just scattergun approach, throwing things at the wall. And lastly, respect. I don't feel like Adam Murray respects this football club. I don't feel like Adam Murray respects these fans. And I know that's a big thing to say, and I hope I'm wrong, but I just feel like what he's come out and said to me just is not showing a respect for the position that he's been entrusted with to steward a much-loved football team forward. And those four things, I think if he can nail those four things, we'll be in a much, much better position. And that will then translate to the product on the pitch. So I'd love to see that from him.
Okay, so this guy was in Agbury yesterday. Anyone know who he is? Anyone know who that man is?
Not interested. Not interested.
Not interested in that.
Yeah. So I agree. I don't want to talk about other managers, and I know I don't want to dictate what we talk about. If you guys want to talk about,
You just did. I'm going to eat my yogurt now, Nick. I've had enough of this. I'm eating my yogurt. All right, pal.
Mine's gone warm.
Let's
exactly.
My personal opinion is let's talk about Adam Murray as our manager and how he can win us back. Because he's losing us. And And if he loses us,
we're gone. We're gone.
He's losing the team. He's on a 1-year deal, I think, isn't it? Not a 2-year.
That's what Gary's saying. I'm not sure on that one. What manager signs a 1-year deal in 2020? I'm not sure if that is the case, then I think that helps all parties at this stage. However, I would be surprised if it is too. So, Gary, if you've got the link to the official website, where they sort of tend to say how long the contract's for, that'd be great. Because if it's a 1-year deal, then like I say, I think that adds a bit more flexibility for both parties. Because, whilst we're looking at this from the Harriers side, Adam himself might be struggling with this, might not be enjoying it. Like I say, his behaviours show that he probably doesn't enjoy it that much at the minute, would be my view. So if it is 1 year, then potentially that works for both parties. But like I say, Gary, I'd be surprised if it isn't a 2-year deal, personally. And Colin's point, I feel like you're sort of missing the point a little bit, buddy, with that. For starters, he would wear a red and white shirt, which was a clear identifier as to which club he was looking at. And to the points that we made earlier, Colin, around the things that he would do within the community, I think that demonstrates that he took the job seriously and what have you. And then also, certainly for probably half the season, he wasn't wearing that gear. And in pretty much every single every single interview, he had the Harriers merch and Harriers gear on as well. So look, it's a small thing, but when we're in the position we're in at the minute, and there's so much kind of conversation around, the mental state of everyone and how we're getting on and behind the scenes stuff, you look at these kind of things and think, he probably does that at every club. He probably doesn't wear the merchandise at every single club he manages at. So whatever. But for me, it's like, these are just the little bits of detail that I feel like the really good managers just get. And those managers that connect with the fan base, they do things that you think can appear on the surface to be quite small and insignificant. But actually, if you get 3 or 4 of those little things, it compounds into feeling like, they're one of us, they get it. That's my view on Phil. Phil Brown might have hated the Harriers, but the things he did,
he certainly does now.
Yeah, just now. So yeah.
Sorry, John. Just looking.
Sorry, now you go, Dan. I've talked enough, mate.
Transfermarket.us is telling me that Adam Murray's contract is expected to run until June the 30th, 2026. So it is a 1-year deal.
Phil says he's always said, this is interesting though. Phil Tanner, thanks Phil, getting involved. He's got involved quite a few times tonight. He says he's always said it's a 2-year plan.
Yeah, he has. Now, I think you said at the top of the show, Wes.
It's a lot of things, to be honest, John. A
lot of
hatred things.
I can
a lot
tell
of
that you feel better for it. You said his remit is to win the league. It's not. His remit when he joined the club has never been to win the league. His remit is to get us promoted. Now, I think he has said publicly that for him, getting us promoted means getting in the top 7 and going from there. Playoffs is a risk, as we've seen many times at this football club, but that's his aim, and that's where he wants to be, and that's where he sees us. So, we're 10 points off already. If we lose the next 2 games, let's hope we don't. Then that's going to be more like a 14-15 point gap, isn't it? So that's his remit, and that's what the club, that's what Richard Lane and everyone else at the club is expecting from him, which is top 7. So that's what he's being judged on internally, and I think we're judging him on different things. But I think every single person on this call, every single person in the North Stand, and hopefully the other stands as well, wants him to do well. No one has anything personal against Adam Murray. We want him to do well. We haven't got anything personal against any of the players. We're not bringing this dark, toxic cloud because we want things to go wrong. We're criticizing, we're discussing, we're talking because we're frustrated that things aren't going well. That's all. It's not.
Wes might be the only one that would say the opposite. But if you said to me now, we win the league and we get promoted to the National League, and the podcast disappeared, I would sign that tomorrow. But
me too. Absolutely.
But the two aren't mutually exclusive. Do you know what I mean? Like, why can't we just have this environment where, in some ways, like Wes has obviously asked for interviews, he's asked for access, and he's had it turned down for whatever reason.
Every time.
Whatever reason.
It's just something in a yogurt during it. That's why.
So it's like that. We don't need to. It doesn't need to be this sort of. Like, it's not even close to that. Like, it's just a normal debate at a standard level at a club that is in the grand scheme of football a very small football club. So
whoa! You sounded like Adam Murray now.
No, but in the grand scheme of football, I'm trying to provide context of somebody basically saying that it's too much for them in a way. When how can it be? Like Peterborough Sports was less than 500 fans. Like we're not Celtic, we're not Manchester United. It's like I got to go back to my point earlier. Every single player that or club member surely wants to advance their career. These are the sort of things that you have to be able to deal with as almost just standard to get through that. So, yeah, but ultimately, if you said to me and get promoted and never come on this again and never talk about the Harriers on the Fans podcast, I'll take it tomorrow. So if they can deliver that, I'm out.
In the
I don't know how to take that. Sorry, John. I don't know how to take that. I can't. Part of me is really excited now, but then the other part's like, shut up, you knobhead. Yeah. So Christopher Owen's having a bad night. It looks like he's having a really bad night.
Snowy's, yeah, he's pressed the wrong thing there, bless him. Right. In the grander scheme of football, in a larger context, yes, okay, Kidderminster Harriers is a small club, but to those couple of thousand people that go week in, week out, it's our everything.
The biggest club.
So, and that's what I think. And I'm not just, this isn't an hour of just having to go at Murray, but that's what everyone involved needs to remember. We're there with the fans, with the supporters, with their customers, as has been mentioned, but we're giving everything we can to that club. And yeah, again, that's that respect part of that equation that I really hope that we start to see soon.
Yeah. Right. On that note, any other business, Nick?
Oh God, yeah, I need a fan in this living room. I'm absolutely roasting. Okay. I have got a couple of bits. Where to start, really? But yeah, okay. So I think we need a new structure at the back. We've discussed that. I do think Devine should be playing further forward if he's going to remain in the team. He really struggled yesterday, and I appreciate that number 10 was a fantastic number 10, but his confidence seems to be really low. I still think he's a very talented player. I like him. I think he's got excitement about him. I really want to see him further forward. We're crying out for Riley, Digger and Spokes in to be the three in midfield. That's needed. I think there's talks about us bringing in defenders, etc. We're desperate for a number 6. If it's not going to be Candola, if he's not going to trust Candola in there as a 6, we need to get a real strong 6, Crowsdale, Byrne, that type of player. Because the way that we're playing, Wes, you were talking about across the back and sideways and all the rest of it, you need a player that wants to get that ball off the back 4 or back 5 or whatever it is to get playing through the lines. And we don't have one at the minute, or he doesn't trust the player that I would play in that position as it stands, given the personnel we've got now, which is Cam Candola, to do it. And the last thing was I saw Murray and the players, Adam and the players, sort of clapping the fans. Yes, I'm in the East Stand, and I'm no lip reader, but I heard him say to I sort of thought he said to one of the players, like, listen to this, listen to it. When there was like mixed reaction, like some were clapping, I was clapping, some were, some weren't. The North Stand looked a little bit more volatile, but he was making sure the players were listening. I felt was my overriding emotion from that. So that's a bit of an interesting one. I don't know what his thoughts, what he's thinking is on that one, whether it's kind of we've got to use this as ammunition. But a part of me has this overriding fear that he's creating an us versus them kind of Alamo style instead of collaboration, which is probably going to would be a healthier way to do it if he can somehow articulate a way that doesn't actually polarize the fan base and actually achieve that mindset. Because at the minute he's just not quite on the tone, I don't think, of the fan base. I don't think he quite is there with what the fans want him to say. Dan, any other business?
I just want to quickly touch on Riley Reynolds, because I think we've skirted around Riley quite a lot this evening. When he came on, there was like you say, there was a lovely cheer when he came on. And it was the first time we moved the ball through the midfield, the first time we really had energy. Now, Luke Spokes, I like Luke Spokes. I think he's a quality player. I thought he had a pretty good game yesterday. Certainly started well. I just think Luke is crying out for someone to be up there with him, crying out for somebody with the same energy levels that he's trying to put in. And as soon as Riley came on, you saw it. It was there. There was a couple of times Riley picked up in the middle, head up, run towards the back line, push the ball out wide, gets into the centre. Like, it's so simple. It's just football. Like, that's what we need. And so, yeah, that's my any other business is I can't understand why we're not looking to start Riley more than we do at all in that point.
I would also say, Dan, thank you for that. Wasn't really any of business, but that's fine, Dan. I
just had to say it. I had to get it out.
The best thing Ryan Reynolds did yesterday was flatten that guy. Jesus Christ, he absolutely. He was dead. He was gone. He wasn't getting up anytime soon. Yellow card. He was like, whatever, I'll take that. Thanks.
John, any him business, please. Congratulations to Reese Devine and his other half on the birth of their baby yesterday. Fantastic news, and I think he did.
What time?
I think he came off the pitch because they could see the head.
They could see the head.
Stand. What?
My any other business is just big call to everyone listening to this. Whether you're able to get to Chester and Merthyr or you're not able to get there, just keep supporting, keep cheering the players, individually chanting. You know, just even every little cheer of "Come on, kiddie," it does make a difference. So let's keep going. Let's keep supporting the team, the whole team, as long as we can, and up the Harriers.
I'll finish off with this. So yesterday, I must have had about 30 conversations with people about the podcast. A lot of people were loving it. I had one bit of constructive criticism, which was, if you're not at the game, you shouldn't be doing a podcast. And I was like, yes. And I said to the guy, I said, listen, it's gone through my mind quite a lot of times. And he was like, well, why'd you do it? And I said, because we have a male audience of a certain age who need us on a Sunday night when their missus is saying, I've got to do this. And they're like, I've got to do the podcast. So if we weren't there, they'd be in the shit, basically. So yeah,
that's not an excuse I use. That's not why I do this. I think I need to point that out. That it's not.
Dan, you've had your chance, mate. You've had your chance, Dan. Stop talking.
Wes, if you want to spend your Sunday nights entertaining the 55-plus-year-old men, then perhaps you could choose a different forum to conduct your business.
I feel throwing us under the bus.
Cheers, Dan. So it was great to speak to everyone yesterday. I hope you've enjoyed what we talked about tonight. And to Adam Murray, and he's not going to see this, but someone clip it if you can. Look, Mr. Mate, we're all on your side. We are. I'm not, if I'm honest, because I think what you set out to get me like almost banned from the club. And by not speaking to me, that's just underhanded. I don't like that at all. I think there are ways to do things, and I think you're getting it all wrong. But I think if you just put that hand out, that olive branch of peace, you'd be surprised how many people have come forward and would just grab it with both hands, because we all want the same thing, which is Kidderminster Harriers to get out of this Tin Pot League. Don't forget to subscribe, okay? Don't forget to subscribe because that helps a lot. We're on 283 now, I think, which is good. Trying to get 500. That'd be lovely if we could before Christmas. That'd be amazing. And keep watching and keep enjoying, as John said, and keep just shouting and stuff and do that. And yeah, I don't know when I'll next be there though, guys. So I'm counting on you guys to be there and fight the good fight for Kidderminster Harriers fans podcast. We did an hour and 18 minutes tonight. And do you know what? We actually had a constant for about an hour of this, a constant of 30 plus people watching. So must be doing something right, I guess. But thank you so much, guys. Listen, have a great weekend. A great Sunday night, I should say. Weekend's gone.
Good night, guys.
John.
Good night.
Nick, Dan, thank you so much, guys. Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.